Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Marketing the Invisible. I'm Tom Poland, beaming out to you from the very sunny Sunshine Coast here in Australia. Joined today by Jackie Ulmer. Jackie, a very warm welcome from down under. Where are you hanging out?
I'm hanging out in Scottsdale, Arizona, where it's sunny and warm and getting warmer.
Yeah, you have pretty cold nights there in winter, right? But dry most of the year.
Well, cold is relative. I mean, compared to Michigan or somewhere like that, no, cold for us, yes. We have a joke here that you can always tell the non-locals in the February because they're wearing shorts and a t-shirt and all the locals are bundled up.
Yeah, it is actually similar here. We have cool, dry, sunny weather where we are here in Australia, this part of Australia, and you can always tell the tourists because they're having a swim in the sea, and
Yep.
all the locals are walking along with hoodies on and yeah. But all the New Zealanders are swimming. They're happy. That's tropical. So all relative, as you say. Let's get into the interview. Jackie, folks, is a mindset and habits coach, and I would have to say this is, this stuff that Jackie teaches is the foundation of all success. I know it comes naturally to some people, the likes of the Elon Musk and the Richard Bransons of this world, but for most of us great unwashed masses, we would do well to listen up to what Jackie talks about, because it really is. The mind is something that can be, Jackie and I were talking before, the greatest servant or the worst master. So that's what she does. Mindset, habits coach. I imagine the latter comes from the former, helping others improve all areas of their life and slight edge shifts, I should say, to their thoughts and their habits. And the funny thing about those shifts, folks, is you get the small, almost imperceptible, subtle shift, and you think, well, yes, it's a small difference, but I'm not sure it's going to make a big difference outside. You keep doing those small edge shifts, as Jackie calls them, and suddenly you have yourself on like train tracks to success. So let's get into it. How to have your habits determine your success. Jackie, our 7 minutes is going to start now. Question number one is, who is your ideal client?
Well, you know that person that starts January 1st with high motivations to make this year the 1 year. The big lofty goals are set, whether they're going to shed those extra pounds or launch a new business, finally write that book, find that perfect person, eat and live more healthy, right? We start the new year off very often that way. And yet just a few weeks into the new year, most often the motivation has faded, the goals are a distant memory, and they're headed to still another December 31st, looking back thinking, what happened? So my ideal client is the one who's read all the self-help books, yet still needs just a little bit more to actually create the self-help and make those goals a reality.
Perfect. Thank you for that. So how would you describe the problem that you solve?
Well, most of us have been taught through our lives what to think, but we've never actually focused on how to think. So for instance, let's take a goal of losing 30 pounds. The number one way that most people approach this is to engage in that torture and deprivation. We
Yeah.
commit to beating ourselves up right at the gym for an hour or more daily, and we highly restrict the food intake to food that we wouldn't even typically serve to our pets. I help people really understand how their current self-image fits into what it is that has them stuck and not really attaining what that goal is. So we begin to define and redefine their future self-image, having already achieved that goal. And we delve into those challenges and obstacles that often derail us and keep us stuck. And then we build from that the plan and the systems that are required to really actually achieve that goal and to sidestep those obstacles, because we all run into those on our way to success. We all have a self-image, and this is what has us experiencing our life as we do now. And again, it doesn't matter which area. We mentioned that already. The question is, does your current self-image serve who you want to become and the goal that you want to attain?
Right. Perfect. Great question. So let's go to question three, just under 5 minutes left. What would you say are some of the typical symptoms of people experiencing this problem that you can solve?
Well, I'm glad you asked that because it truly is the most important part of the process. And in some ways, it's the thing that's very seldom addressed. We set goals, but we don't truly then set a clear path to achieve them, including changing those default patterns or those default habits. And we all have them, those habits, those actions that run most of our lives from the moment we get up in the morning, right? We go into default mode so often. If we're not intentionally thinking about our goals, we're going to fall into those default patterns and we're going to end up failing. So we have to know and plan for experiencing and overcoming the challenges and then incorporating those habits that are going to move us toward that goal. Again, taking that example of losing weight, the sad reality of it is the world doesn't shift to fit our goals. So those donuts and that birthday cake's going to show up at the office or wherever. The chips and salsa arrive at your table, whether you ask for them or not. And so expecting this and then being prepared to deal with it is so critical. It really is.
Right.
How you think and act in the moment that the urge arises matters. How will you feel about the choice that you make in 30 minutes, in 3 hours, or even tomorrow?
Well, that's so clever because you're preempting the inevitable. And for some strange reason, when we set goals, we just, in some way or in our unconscious, it just seems to think it's going to be a smooth ride, that it's going to be linear, and we've decided it's going to be this way. So it is, like we switch on the light and the light's there, boom. So you're preempting that by getting people to go to those places where obstacles will present themselves and moving through them in advance. Very clever. Well, let's go to just under 3 minutes left. I'll keep moving. Question 4 is, what would you say are some of the common mistakes that people make when they're trying to move forward and make these shifts?
Well, so often we set a goal and we think that we can just simply change our actions without actually changing the thoughts and the beliefs and the habits. And we all know that if we eat less and move more, that principle worked, we'd all be thin and fit, right? If it worked, because we've heard that. And we all know the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So what we have to do is we have to identify what needs to happen and then create systems that will move us to success, because systems are really what make things happen. The first step in the system is to get clear on the beliefs that we have and then the thoughts that we have that back up those beliefs. Those create the habits that we engage in over and over again. So from there, we can define and create new habits, release the old ones that support our goal. But it starts with understanding why this matters and how it's going to benefit us.
So there's several things that we could unpack. We don't have time, unfortunately, but there's the self-image, there's the realization of the obstacles and the preparation for those, and there's the creating of the environment and the surroundings, which are going to have any individual more likely to follow through. So there's an awful lot to this that you do that's external. I mean, there's a lot of internal work we're doing between the two ears, but there's a lot of external work. And I really love that holistic approach, because it feels to me like it's all encompassing. You're giving people the support physically, for the physical environment as well. So let's go to top tip. What's one valuable free action someone can take that'll move them forward a little bit?
Well, just pick one goal. Just start with one. And then think about, what are those characteristics and habits of the person who's already achieved that goal? What are those characteristics consist of? What does their day consist of? How do they think? How do they act on different things? And then you have to ask yourself, do I currently match those characteristics and those habits? Does my day start off with those thoughts and actions that line up with what I've stated that my goal is?
Great question.
And do I know what those challenges and obstacles are going to be? And do I have a plan to push through those?
Powerful question to start the day with. So 26 seconds left. Question 6 is more resource, folks. If you go to, I'll answer that for the sake of time, peakperformancehabits.com. Brilliant URL, peakperformancehabits.com/future self. Go there. It's about creating your image, which you can step into. 8 seconds left. What's the one question I should have asked you, Jackie? And I'm going to give you an extra 10 seconds to answer.
Yeah. How does this relate to entrepreneurs and specifically the sales process? Systems run everything. We don't get our goals, we get our habits. So this will work in every area of your life.
And that I 100%. You cannot quarantine the impact of this to your personal life or your business life. It's going to spread. There's no wall between them because it's your mind. Jackie, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for your time and your wisdom. Folks,
thank you.
One last mention of that URL, peakperformancehabits.com/future self. Cheers.
Thanks for checking out our Marketing the Invisible podcast. If you like what we're doing here, please head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate us, and leave us a review. It's very much appreciated. And if you want to generate 5 fresh leads in just 5 hours, then check out www.5hourchallenge.com.